welcome to the policy meeting of the 11th of August. Do we have any apologies? That's all here as to those regular members. No apologies. We move to declarations of interest. Not been indicated that there are any. There are none. We move to item 4, public forums, petitions and deputations. Again, I haven't been informed of any. No, let's go to confirmation of minutes. Someone like to move to order this an accurate record.
Happy to move.
Right. Thank you, Nicole. Seconder. Sure. Thank you, Robert. So their accuracy can be discussed now. Is there any erratum or omissions? The motion, the minutes be accepted as true or adopted as a true and accurate record. Those in favour say aye. Against no, that's agreed. The notifications of extraordinary or urgent business. Will be notified of any.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Yes, my question refers to the latest report from the Intergovernmental Panel on Climate Change released yesterday, or the day before at least, the contents of which were described by the UN Secretary as code red for humanity. And he said quite an immediately told fossil the alarm bells are definitely added. My question is, what will this council do in response to these alarm bells? We've signed up to the government's position on climate change as an emergency. Our chairman signed the declaration by local government on climate change, and we've established an in-council climate change committee. So it seems necessary that we do something tangible at this alarming point. What will that be? What will that be?
Would you like to respond to that? I think we do have our probably that is time for a few of our positions or something like that. Probably a question why council asking the council itself.
That's a good point, Mr. Chairman, and I certainly would like to ask something like a
I think with the climate change commission's draft we've brought out now submission, we will have an opportunity to do that going forward. And the report Robert's just mentioned, we talked about coal, and perhaps we should be urging the government in a future meeting to look hard at increasing our alternative uses rather than bringing in coal from to fire up Huntley, because on one side we're saying that we're not using alcohol, so it's somebody else's problem, but I don't think most of us wear that.
Thanks, Mr. Chairman. It's a really good question. The question really is, what are we going to do about it? We had a joint council workshop on the 22nd of February. That's a long time ago now. I'm concerned we took an action out of that, and where is that? That would be my question. Who's that sitting with? The question for me is really the question for all these changes that you've been reading about, and I've had a quick look at it too. So they're already locked in. So the question is, are we going to be forward thinking for the province and look at all these issues and start looking at them now?
We're not going to change it, but it's around
going to happen. We're not going adaptation really
for natural systems.
So
thank you. That's all.
Thank you. That's all I want to say.
I just wanted to ask the question that Peter has actually about because we kind of closed off that committee. And it had moved on to interagency arrangements. So I'll reiterate Peter's question: where is that at, and when are we feeding into that some more?
All right.
I think just on that, perhaps, Mr. Chairman, that it would probably be good to have a recommendation to go to the next council meeting as to get a report of where that's sitting, because we appear to be, most other councils tend to work together and probably will.
So as an action from the question, we're resolving that we place the matter at the wider council and ask for a report on activities. We move into that, yeah, and it's a signal.
Yeah.
Linda, further discussion? There's none. I'll put the motion over in favour and say aye. Against, no. That's agreed. We come to chairman and councillors' reports. Does anybody else? All right. Staff report, item 1. Page 9.
A planning change to the special plan, according to script, it's a small influent change that will enable us to actually meet our regulatory requirements in the infrastructure. And we've been looking for a way through this council for some time. And while the plan is progressing at pace, this will enable our consents team in particular to be able to actually apply aspects of the intended future plan now, which are very helpful and has been requested from your Green Guardians and others. So Lucy will take us through the paper if that's okay.
Excellent. Thank you, Lucy.
Kia ora. So as Will has introduced, we were directed to have a look at possible options for fixing this slight loophole that currently exists with the regional coastal plan. We workshopped with the council and with the Tammy board a little over a month ago, and this paper is to formally take the recommendation and the direction that was given from council and from the Tammy board to initiate a plan change process. I'm happy to take any questions, but given that we've workshopped it, I'm taking the report as read and I'll put questions to the.
Any questions on the report, Lloyd?
Thanks, Lucy. My understanding is, and I can't remember I read it, is that there was an actual appeal to the consent that was applied for. The commissioner has turned down as an appeal to that. How does that process interact with this process?
Through you, Mr. Chair, my understanding is not necessarily technical on that one, but I know that the two are separate. So the consent will have to go through the process, much like the appeal to the full plan. It will just have to run through its process, and should the two things play at some point, we'll deal with that, but actually needs to be dealt with under the regime that currently exists. By the and this was, as instructed, this is only an interim measure. It would doesn't stop anything else that's already in play for the wider coastal plan review. Worth saying as well, just as Will mentioned, this was initiated from concerns with Field and Marine Guardians and Tammy, as well as other stakeholders and operators in the field who are seeing this certainly increase of interest and pressure, additional consents.
If I understand that, my concern was how the two processes parallel or interconnect, and was there influence from one to the other. So I was trying to just make sure that those two things can be dealt with at the same time, and one wasn't going to trigger or end up being a problem for the other, and vice versa. So I was just trying to get clarification.
So through the chair, my understanding is that even though they relate to the same thing, they won't connect. The consent will have to be considered under the existing regime, and so the new regime that we will aim to notify before the end of the year, it's likely that the consent process will be resolved by the time we get to actually formally notify the preparation of those documents. It's really just the formal for us to
So we come to Linda.
Mr. Chairman, paragraph 12, Lucy, just making sure I understand the implications that the surface water activities will be assessed under both proposed in the operative provisions. So what fish hooks are in the fund do we see in there? Because that's quite tricky, I imagine.
So consensus not quite well placed at the moment for dealing with that complexity. Given the fact that our proposed waters plan and the operative regional water plan is how we're having to deal with almost all the consents that come in, they are having to navigate those fish hooks. The fact that the notify that would be what they would be leaning on for any additional consents that do come in regards to service water.
So the case by case basis will be
Case by case will
fraught.
Yes, well, I wouldn't say fraught. I would say that they will need to take account of both the changes as well as the existing, and will need to refer up to the CPS as well. So one of the items that was flagged as being inconsistent with the NCCS will be addressed by this change. So taking that precautionary approach is really critical.
Thanks.
Yeah, thanks, Mr. Chairman. So with a wee bit of confidence, do you think that this sort of holding mechanism may be able to get us through to when we start to see a marine fee start to rise again, so we can start on that planning process for the refresh?
So through Chair, the wider coastal plan review is still going on. And if you endorse the paper and endorse the progress of this small plan change, that doesn't interfere with that wider review of the coastal plan, and isn't dependent on the change to its pre-COVID levels. But once we notify this teeny tiny plan change, we would have 2 years for the remaining review to be completed. So that ties in with what we already intended, in the sense that we do the coastal plan for the review and release that before the end of 2020. So, yeah, we're not waiting on the marine fee to be back in order to progress with those other things.
Thank you.
Through to you, just following on from Lucy. So this is no connection from this is about carrying capacity, concerns about carrying capacity. Nicole? Yes, Mr. Chairman, I'm just wondering whether there's any possibility we could apply to Minister Parker to be able to fast track this. It's about water. I think there's one for fresh water in there, but the other thing was the immediate effects. And normally you have that situation where it's just it's a waiting, isn't it? It's not just as normally just there is an immediate effect, or is it still
No, so through you, Chair, the intention is that the drafting will obviously still need to be done, and there's a process that we would go through to come back to you to approve all that. But the intention would be that we take a pretty firm line on the prohibition for further intensification, but that it only has discretionary status. So it will still have to be given effect to, but the prohibition element can't be enforced whilst it's under appeal, but between notification and the coming forward. I think that's what it's meant.
right? So we are going down the prohibition, which is the most extreme.
Yes, so the intention is to send a very clear line that we're not making any further intensification of surface water activity in the industry. In terms of the fast track, are you referring to the freshwater planning?
Yes, the ability to be able to go into the environment.
So the intention would be that we would notify the plan and seek submissions as we always would, but that we wouldn't necessarily progress it through the environmental process in the 2 years that we have that ticking clock. So the rest of the planning will catch up before we move to worrying about that too much. But the freshwater planning process, I don't think it would be doable for the surface water activity element, but we could certainly look at it if that's the direction that we want.
Well, just a supplementary, actually. The river opportunities launch, where the chair Keith Turner was suggesting that cruise ships were banned from the whole Milford Sound, suggesting they could go elsewhere in Yorland. Would this not also be an impediment on any cruise ship activity when actually in that sounds?
So 3 checks, yes, is the short answer to that question. A reduction or a hold the line, which phase, but the holding of the current status in terms of surface water activities would catch any expansion of the shift of weight in the other stands.
Thank you for that.
Alan, did you want to come in?
Thanks, Mr. Chair. So just, I don't think the question's been asked, but the sound coming through is a little bit average. My question about the field and carrying
I don't
capacity.
want to ignore you. You have a contribution.
Can you hear me? Am I being heard or not? Yeah, so my question, the field and carrying capacity project, you indicate that the tentative delivery date is 2nd of August for that report. So who is doing that report, and have we got a draft at this stage, or are we still waiting for that draft?
Through you, Chair, it's an EnviroLink funded project, and a PhD student is completing it. We have got the draft, and the staff are just working through it at the moment.
Time frame, do we have? I think that's what Alan was asking.
So we comments from all staff who have been involved is due by the end of this week, back with the student, the contractor, and we're hoping that we will be able to finalise in the next couple of weeks. So
It's just supplementary. Is that a reasonably complex issue, or is that not a complex issue to determine the carrying capacity of Fieldland?
Yeah, it's a fairly complex issue. Yeah, the draft report's over 100 pages. So based on literature review, as well as a survey that we did of operators in Fieldland to estimate what the carrying capacity might be and what potential there would be for growth, etc. So yeah, fairly complicated thing.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Just another question, holding the line, is this an interim rule that would be superseded by the total process plan, which may or may not stay the same?
Yes, so through you, Chair, absolutely interim. That was one of the clear directions that you gave us at the workshop, that it should have a sunset clause or something similar. So once the wider plan review is notified, this would be superseded by that.
Is there any other comments or questions? Someone ready to move the resolution? Bonnie and Stephen McMindle. No further discussion. I'll put the recommendation. Those in favour say aye. Aye. It's no, that's 3. And move to item 2. And Lucy, what's got in charge?
For now. So I just wanted to provide you with a work plan update and talk you through a couple of things. The topic B mediation for the proposed water and land plan, as noted at the last meeting, was delayed. The final session was delayed due to the fog that we had that week that it was scheduled to occur. The revised timeframe is the end of August, which is back in full mediation. We commenced the 30th of August for 5 more days. As we talked about previously, the number of issues we are attempting to traverse in this final load of mediation is equal to all of the other issues for all of the 6 subtopics. It is a lot to get through in 5 days. So in order to try and make the most of those conversations, we have been working with parties in a pre-mediation. Second one was just this week, and I've got 2 more next week, hoping to narrow the scope, narrow the discussions so that we make the best use of those 5 days. I know there's a lot of interest both around this table, but also out in the community about the progress that we're making. Everybody is still very engaged. Everybody is looking to settle what we possibly can. And we are starting to be quite upfront with each other about the possibility that there'll be elements we can't settle in mediation and what that might look like. So I would say we are getting some progress, but it's not fast. And we know that we're going to be heading back to a hearing anyway on a couple of items. So the scale of that hearing is yet to be determined. Once the mediation is completed, so that week of mediation, we have a pretty tight time frame to go back to the court and outline to them where we've landed, where parties have got to, and to highlight to them any elements that are still live that need their intervention. So I think it's about 10 working days that we've got after that then shortly after that, we'll have a hearing no doubt. I haven't got an indication of when that hearing might be. I know that ORC is hearing on a couple of items that's laid down for the beginning of November, so we might be able to squeeze in a hearing this side of Christmas, but I make no promises. I'm in the hands of the court. So I'll keep you posted on that. And we're working very closely, obviously, and continue to with the People, Water and Land Programme team and the regional forums work. And my team has started already the project plan for the plan change to come to that plan that is still traversing its way through the Environment Court. The coastal plan we've already discussed this morning, and I wanted to flag with you as well that the LiDAR flying, we've got 20% now in terms of the region that's been flown. It's a significant chunk of the priority 1 area, which was the coastal areas in the city, and that amount of data is now going to be being processed, which will take between 3 to 6 months because of the quantity of data. So there's an element of checking its accuracy and then the actual processing. So we're hoping again that we will be able to start making use of some of that early next year. I'm happy to answer any questions, obviously, as always, but I wanted to just, the final thing to flag is the regional policy statement review that we talked about in workshops and previous council meetings. We're just finalising the contractual arrangements with the provider who's going to assist us with that, and the changes that will be being made will be done by the end of April, notify the National Planning Standard changes, as well as a couple of other minor changes to the markets. So happy to take any questions about what else we've got going on.
Linda's first.
Yeah, thanks, Mr. Chairman. Sort of just highlighted the potential risk. I don't know if there's a risk or not, but going into a plan change situation, while we still don't have a fully operational plan, what sort of reputational risk with this council would that be, even for a bit of public kickback on that? Because it's something that just doesn't seem right, and it probably highlights the long drawn out process of, I think, 7 years ago did we start this water land plan, long before I was on the scene anyway.
So the plan change process that has been underway for some time, the regional forum is a key part of what that plan change needs to include. I think what my intention has always been, and there's certainly been the conversations that have played out with the regional forum, is the objectives that the court has directed us to include within the plan now, they're not likely to change in any significant way as part of the plan change. The intention would be that they've recently been tested, they're forward-looking, etc. But that the provisions in the bulk of the plan where we insert the limits, etc., that's where the majority of the change will come. In terms of reputational risk, I'm not sure I'm the person to talk to that, but I probably prefer to Wilma in the first instance.
So just a supplementary, my question really is around through the public lens of seeing a plan change to a plan that isn't yet operational. Maybe Rob would like to answer.
Well, I think that's certainly probably lost on people, with huge reputational risk that we don't proceed. The ministers made it really clear that we need to have a plan change. Rest notified by 2023. So, actually to pause that now would be
Not suggesting that.
And,
slightest.
the so we're doing exactly the right thing.
And I think through you, Chair, it's the time frame of it that's important to try and assist our community to understand, that there is this plan change to come. The work that the forum's doing is absolutely integral to that, because it's going to assist yourselves and us what that plan change looks like. But the next 2.5 years is going to be what is in that plan change. And we've got good direction from the court on what their views are about the high level objectives of the proposed plan. But we'd be remiss if we didn't put some pretty hefty effort into planning for the plan change. So that's kind of what I was alluding to.
My question would be around politics of what we've done. When we had some of our submitters appearing before us when we put out our proposed rate change, one of the questions they raised was what they done and it started before I got on the council and finished before. the next step. Somehow we need to have some comms out about the value of it and where it's at and what our expectations are and what the benefits will be. And we need to cover that stuff off just to close down, or no, just to help an understanding of the complexity of the issue and what it actually means. So can I just suggest that you have a look at that? Is it?
It's comms to tell a story.
Yeah, we just need to keep our electorate appraised of what's actually happening. And I don't think it would hurt to say that we're a little bit frustrated with the protracted way in which this is now playing out, and that our desire is to get some clarity and some action out with those people who can make a difference. I think that's pretty critical.
It's just, we just need to be careful with our language, that we don't come across the environment court. They might not appreciate.
Okay.
The point's taken.
It's the last coming out from me here.
He's right.
Well, that's,
And here's what's next, and here's our all fits together. It's really useful.
that's their job. I raised the issue. You can do it in the most delicate and effective way.
We've got people in the room.
People.
Right. Cool. Are there any other comments? Yeah, Lord.
Chair, I'd just like to go back under the background section there. You've got a comment there that basically says that we don't have a process in place to actually loop in the council when submissions or information comes to us to keep us. I'm wondering whether we can tidy that up. And the reason I say that is that one, I've been nosy. I want to know what's going through with the logo on it, and it's going to party from above authorities. It may be that I want to make sure that the submission is actually wide enough and it's brief, and I've got my practical here from the year side. How do I actually make this thing work if it comes back to me in a form that is needed to, what's that background look like to actually handle these things? So I'm really interested in that, but I'm a little bit disappointed, if I'm really honest, that there's not a system through, because their agendas are very light at the moment, and information needs to be added in. So we do have that value when we've actually got a knowledgeable base to actually speak from. I'm looking for the farm plan stuff. I know it's out there. It's going to be in by September. I haven't seen anything yet, but I'm looking to that because I'm wanting to see what's in it, what's expected, how wide it is, what sectors it's looking at, those sorts of things. Is it by chapter, as we've discussed? Where is it specific in its framework?
Through you, Chair, I think that that section on the final page, the consultative reports and discussion papers, has been one of the ways that we've captured things that happen in between meetings that we haven't had time to do briefings on because of the agenda, etc. But one of the things I did want to highlight was exactly that, Councillor McCollum, around the farm plan regulations, and what I would suggest is that we work with yourselves between in the next few weeks, ideally, and we can put up some preparatory material so you can see where our heads are at in terms of the analysis of that package of regulations. And then you have an opportunity to wade in a more robust way, and that will enable us to frame up our submission based on your concerns and your comments. So I've been working with Fiona on that from Rules of C and also from consent, so that work is underway. But I just wanted to sense check with you all that a workshop would be the best way to do that. Gain some insights from you.
Yeah, I just wanted to say. This is a matter which I'm discussing this week in my return. I mean, we are concerned about the fact we've had on two occasions now work where we've worked in collaboration with other regional councils, which has put pressure on the time frame in which things can come to you relative to the time in which the submission is actually due, and that's less than ideal. So we do want to look at processes and enable you to provide that that might happen in a way that actually has some status that doesn't include a meeting. I'm not certain to what extent that's going to be feasible under the way the Act's written, but we need to look for that, I think. This might happen from time to time. That we collaborate with other councils to get this process done. And for just timeframes, we need to know that we've actually got council consent. So that we're actually looking at how we're going to actually deal with it. I think that might happen in government timeframes and some collaborative timeframes more frequently. So that's what we're thinking at the moment. So the can do that legally.
You just, you know, so the expectation is stuff that policy questions and will company will have a workshop or agenda. And so we're going to make sure that happens on this time.
Yeah, and we just need to see that we've got our legal status to be able to actually.
Okay, Alan, did you have a contribution? I didn't
Yeah,
see you
thanks,
sitting on, but
Yeah, thanks, Mr. Chair. So I was just going to ask a question really on item 6 under transport management. I know that we've obviously got the plan is now complete and finished off, but you've got a question there, which, well, a sentence there, the second one that says there is another item on this matter. And so whether there's a little bit more elaboration as to what the other item or other matter is alluding to.
Through you, Chair, that's just an error from holdover from the last paper. There is another item on it today, but
yeah, okay. Cross that out.
apologies for that.
Good spotting.
Thank you.
All right, Lloyd.
It may not be probably typical here, but I'm just wondering, we're dealing with the speed management system that's sitting around that is going backs and forwards, and we've had submissions on it from, I've signed one from my transport committee. Still getting some feedback on that, but just so the council know, we actually don't want to be involved in that. We're not trying to be involved in that. We're trying to put a delicate way of saying that, why would you? Because it doesn't make sense logically, and it's not sensible. But that is sitting there that still be worked through. It's gone quiet for quite a while, but I expect to have some more of that stuff come up. That would need to be elevated into the council arena, and it may be this committee.
And through you, Chair, that we've got it on our forward plan for Russell to come back probably September to the September meeting, possibly October if we don't get any progress by September. But it's live on my radar and his that we need to report back to about where that gets to. There was obviously a paper that Russell bought, I think, a couple of months ago, a couple of weeks ago, about this item, but there has been some ongoing.
The other thing I'd even assume I could is it's becoming clear to me now that we may have to start thinking about bigger than the Otago South. We may need to think about South Island wide things. To do some more background stuff, as well pointed out, talking to other councils and getting alignment.
All right, Nicole.
Well, firstly, just on that issue, I believe there is a meeting scheduled for the 27th of August in Christchurch, which I'm assuming would be the platform to talk about that with the other councils. So it's a very good point, and there's no point us just starting when you actually need the other regional councils to be seen on the same time tree. And just recently, I heard finally that Great South have finalised the electromagnetic survey work. We've been waiting impatiently for quite some time, and I would actually like possibly for the next committee to actually have an invitation to somebody like Steve County to come and give governments a high level overview or appraisal of it, because we've heard that it validates a lot of the physiographic work, put quite a bit of money in it, and I know staff have been getting feedback, but at a governance level, and the territorial profit saying that very keen to hear just how that all went down.
Any other comments? I want to move the recommendation. Lloyd, move. And further discussion, I'll put the motion, those in favour say aye. It's approved. I think it concludes our agenda for this morning. Right, indeed. Meeting closed at 24.